I now call Jim Fairlie to be followed by Pauline McNeill. Mr Fairlie.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, I have to say, when I read the Tory motion and then listened to Douglas Ross's opening remarks, it actually saddened me and sickened me at where our politics in Scotland have been lowered to. My thoughts around the COVID inquiry that is ongoing and the Scottish inquiry that is to come will not just give the grieving families, but the whole country the knowledge as to what was done correctly, what we need to learn so that from a future pandemic, which will inevitably happen, we'll have the means to be better prepared, that we are suitably funded, that we've got a better understanding of what worked well and how they could be improved. We'll have better science, data and modelling and use that data appropriately. We'll have a workforce and system fit to cope. To do that, Presiding Officer, we must let the inquiries look at the substance of the decisions that were being made at the time with the information available to the ministers at that time. In other words, let's avoid the snapshot headlines that are designed to misinform and allow the inquiries to do their job and give us that substantive information we need to be better prepared for the next time. No, I won't. I was very pleased to hear during my time in the COVID Recovery Committee that a new system of procurement had been or was being implemented to ensure that PPE contracts and supplies were being manufactured and supplied on a rolling just-in-time model to ensure availability on long-term resilience, as well as promoting Scottish domestic contractors fill that so that we have resilience in that system. It's a very welcome adaptation and a learning from what was clearly a mistake during the pandemic. We found out that Scotland is an absolute world leader in data collection, but not as good as using that data to best effect, so let's get that done better. We also learned through a committee inquiry about the harms that people suffered as a result of long COVID, which are very real and difficult for sufferers and families alike. I'd very much like to see where the government is as for the recommendations we made in that report so that long COVID patients and their families can see some light at the end of what has for them been a very long, dark tunnel. That leads me to my next point, societal reactions to any future pandemic and even more dangerous variant of what is currently circulating, because let's not forget this virus is very much still with us. Ultimately, it was that societal cooperation that made sure we got through this pandemic as well as we could have hoped for, and it will be that societal working again in the future that will be vital to make sure we can do it, whether it's 10 years, 50 years or 100 years down the line. Those lessons have to be our guiding star. And I want to say now and add my name to the record of everyone else who has expressed the sadness and condolences that I am no doubt we all feel for the bereaved families who lost loved ones to the virus, or had the usual grieving process through other losses curtailed by the risk of the virus spreading. My mum died in May 2020 and her funeral was nothing more than putting her coffin in the ground, saying a few words from a priest that could barely be heard because of social distancing, and going home. Those human interactions, the hugs, the tears, the reminiscing, all the things that we do as humans to help grieve were forbidden, and I have no doubt there will be long-lasting issues for many people who still suffer from that inability to grieve properly, and my heart goes out to each and every one of them. No, I won't. I saw Murdo Fraser talking about the loss of his parents over the weekend, and I extend that thought to him as well as to everyone else who has suffered. I am sure everyone in this chamber, after all, we are all human, regardless of the job we do, and we have all suffered from the effects and after-effects of one of nature's most deadly weapons. So it's for all these reasons that this motion saddened me, Presiding Officer, that we have a Tory party motion brought to the Chamber to try to preempt the findings of a formal set of inquiries which are costing millions of pounds, are being done diligently and with purpose to ensure we will be better prepared for the next time. We must let the full course of those inquiries do their work so that we all get the benefit of the lessons to come from them. We had an opposition member after member in the Chamber yesterday decrying a Scottish Government motion looking at the opportunities of how we can improve the lot for all of the people through our relationship with the EU, saying it was a waste of money, a waste of parliamentary time. And yet they have all piled into this debate to try and make capital out of a horrendous situation that we had to collectively deal with. And by and large, those who were here agreed with the action. And yet particularly members sitting over there who constantly talk about both of Scotland's governments, refuse to challenge the partying PPE fraud and scandal-ridden government of their Westminster party. And I say that hypocrisy just saddens rather than angers me in the context of the debate that we are having today. Now, I've watched some of the debates at the time of the pandemic starting to really require responses, and the conversations in this chamber around bed capacity in hospitals, and to everyone agreed that those beds needed to be released to deal with the pandemic. So I would ask all of those members who were here in this chamber at that time, what would they have done differently with the information that they had at that time, and they supported the government in trying to clear those beds in fear of the coming pandemic. That, Presiding Officer, is a crucial point I think we need to be considering. What did we do? Did we have the right information? How did we use the data we are so good at collecting? And we can do all that now with 2020 hindsight. We certainly couldn't do that at the height of the pandemic. If we allow the inquiries to do their jobs, Presiding Officer, perhaps we'll get those answers and ensure that that societal trust I have spoken about, which our First Minister gained through monumental efforts of her and her entire Cabinet, can be justified and repeated if we ever needed to do it again in our lifetime. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Mr Fairlie. I now